play, boys. Let's rock and roll here.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we got a couple things to talk about. First off, so we got Worlds. We obviously got Worlds around the corner. I got some key questions about the World Championships. So I'll throw it out there to you fellas, and we could discuss, just straight up discussion points. But we have a couple other things we could discuss as well. So we have the enhanced games came and went. And I'm wondering your guys' impression. I could tell you right now, initially, I was obviously like everyone else for the past 2 years. I heard on so many podcasts, as big as like the Joe Rogan podcast 2 years ago, they're talking about, you hear about this shit? Enhanced games? It's like the Olympic Games, only untested. So what are we expecting here? And people are thinking like craziest shit. You just are thinking the craziest shit is about to happen. People have been excited for 2 years, maybe even more. And the whole premise of it was like, tune in and watch the craziest records fall. Imagine the Olympics on steroids, literally. And you tune in, first off, yes, they're trying to sell you supplements. Gotcha. All right, well, all right, this is how the funding's going to go. Watch this, be impressed with what you see, and then buy some supplements, testosterone creams, whatever the shit. However, a couple things I didn't realize. First off, it'd be over and done in a short 5.5 hours. It'd be only 42 athletes, and this is mostly exhibitions. This isn't like I was thinking, like an actual games. This isn't a look, IPF Worlds takes longer. Like this is like not even a IPF Worlds day 2. I wasn't expecting that. And only 42 athletes? So we're talking some exhibitions. This isn't even like sports, head-to-head battles to get wrapped up about. Okay. We're going to have straight up only exhibitions. Shades of powerlifting here a little bit, huh? Little bit. We'll talk about it. Little bit. And only one world record falls. And that's the whole premise of this thing. And if you're wondering, how did this go? Day of, 250,000 people tuned in to watch it. I couldn't believe it. How the hell is that even possible? That's Sheffield. Sheffield. You understand? And 2 weeks later, still hasn't hit the million mark for views, which is gotta be a flop. I don't know what the hell, how this could be with the amount of money they're throwing. Look, they got Sheffield views, and their prize money is a lot bigger than Sheffield. I'm gonna tell you that right now. All right, Johnny, what was your impression? How the hell do you summarize this? How did this go so wrong?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I had a pretty strong feeling this was going to go wrong once they started advertising about maybe a little under a year ago. Once they started doing the supplement thing and the HRT thing, I was like, oh, dude, this is not the way to do this. Like, you have to glorify this. You have to really paint a story around these enhancements. As soon as you start getting gimmicky and markety, people are just perturbed. You know what I mean? They don't get as excited, and they're not building these stories around these athletes. But let's talk about the actual results, right? There's 3 conclusions to draw from this, okay? Possible conclusions to draw from this. 2 of which I've seen super popular, 1 of which I haven't. From anybody that isn't on gear. The people that are on gear understand a little bit. But number 1, right? The most popular one that I've seen on social media is that people in the Olympics are on gear, right? Which is, I think there's a stat, I don't quote me on it, but something between 70 and 80% of all Olympic athletes on their path to the Olympics before retirement have popped for something, right? I personally know, I'm not going to, call anybody out here. But like,
Save me.
I personally know, no.
No, please don't. I don't want to get sued.
I know a couple people, super smart guys, that change the molecular structure of gear so that it's not tested. And I know NFL athletes, MLB athletes, professional athletes that take this stuff that get tested, and it's totally fine, right? I hope none of us are naive enough to think that these people aren't on anything. But that's not to say that the top guys are, or that all of these records are done, dishonestly. But that's one big thought camp. The second, which is my personal favorite and the uncommon one, is this exposes the reality of taking gear. It is not this magic pill. It is not Captain America serum. Yes, it works, right? And I think that it's so interesting that the one world record that was taken was in swimming out of everything, right? I would expect it to help by far the least, right? It's like, okay, we're gonna give you muscle. That's what this stuff's really good at, right? Is giving you muscle, especially if you did take a look at the substances that are allowed. You would need a knowledge base on anabolics in general, but a lot of this stuff helps you put on size, right? Like these guys, that one swimmer, the most viral guy, right? That went from like pencil to all jacked up with the lats hanging out of the suit, that guy. Okay, this guy can produce more force. He also just put on 50 pounds of lean tissue, got leaner. His buoyancy is significantly lower, right? It's much harder for this guy to propel himself through the water. And yes, he has increased force production, but how much, right? Like, how much does this take away? It's also significantly less athletic. Gear does not make you more athletic, makes you stiff. Good for powerlifting, right? If we're going to talk about just lifting weights and static strength. But if we're talking overall and at these doses that these guys were running, you are talking about going from a swimmer, specifically guys who are used to slapping their own backs to a feeling like an absolute rocket. Like this is not going to help you the way that most people think it is. I couldn't be less surprised on the Thor and Mitchell Hooper front because of the platform. Do you know what happened with the platform?
No. Tell me a story.
Dude. So I don't know if you guys noticed, it's an Olympic weightlifting platform. They ordered the platform. It was supposed to be a huge deadlift platform, 10 by 10, I think all rubber premium. I don't know how with this much time for preparation, you don't make sure that that's there on time, but it didn't get there on time.
Oh my God.
So they audibled to this Olympic weightlifting platform, which if you go watch it, I highly encourage anybody listening and both of you after this to go watch this. They are on wood, right? Anybody that knows an Olympic weightlifting platform, bunch of wood, and then you have rubber on the outsides. Now, obviously, if you're a sumo deadlifter and barefoot, that means significantly more, but these guys are massive, right? Thor's conventional stances is out there and they are at peak body weight. It is difficult for them. You lose free IR in the hips, right? When you are getting that big. These guys setting their grips as soon as they actually go to produce force down into the ground. I want you to watch Thor, I think it was, came out for his first attempt in socks. I want you to watch as he applies force down, these feet are sliding out.
Oh, fuck.
Like, yo, what are you doing? It might have been Mitch with the socks. Second attempt comes out barefoot, and you still watch it happen. Now, obviously, Half Thor has the horsepower of maybe 2 actual horses. He's an absolute monster. But still, we are not talking about low weight, right? We're talking about 100 plus pounds. You watched him rocket through that second, which I was already surprised once I saw those feet coming out. If I was him, I'd be like, yo, your guys are not making an ass out of me. Like, put down some rubber here. But he is, such a professional at this stuff and has had things go his way, not go his way. In strongmen, there's so much variability when it comes to equipment that he just kind of tanked it. But you're watching this shift, right? If you see this side angle, this bar is just rotating as he's coming in. The feet are coming out. And I was like, if this guy does this 515 right now, 520, whatever he was going to go up to, he has at least 5 to 10 more on legitimate, standards where he should be on real equipment. And then lo and behold, misses. And I'm like, dude, how do you guys botch this? The structure of going from first attempt deadlift to a swimming sprint to a second attempt deadlift to a swimming sprint. It's like, what are we doing here? How did you guys screw this up so badly? This could have been such a big thing. And they couldn't have screwed the pooch harder, in my opinion. Everybody that was there, I had a lot of buddies that were invited to go watch and attend. And they were like, yeah, it was like cool, I guess. There's a lot for next year, you know what I mean? And they do have, I will say, they have this 3-year contract. It's 3 years, and there's some really exciting stuff that they're looking to do next year with possibly bringing in women, possibly doing, maybe I shouldn't say this stuff, but like possibly doing a squat, bench, and deadlift, a straight up powerlifting situation. Which all of this is super cool. They're definitely getting a lot of heat and feedback from this. I would more so judge the enhanced games as a whole based on next year, in my opinion. They totally screwed it this year. They have maximal feedback. Everybody is shitting on this. Let's see what they do,
When I searched enhanced games in YouTube, I got a fuckload of videos and all of them were enhanced games flop. How did enhanced games flop this badly? Enhanced games disaster. Every single one of them is like, I'm shocked. I was like, there's no way they're going to do this again. And I guess with a 3-year contract, so I don't know what the contract's looking like, who's paying what, but there's no way they're making the money. This is crazy. And how do you have this type of laneway for prep and you're this far behind getting things in place? You didn't even get the deadlift platform in time. This is 2-3 years in the making.
You know what it reminded me of? It was like a bad Black Mirror episode. I was watching like some social dystopic, like what's his name? Brian Johnson, the guy, the Venmo guy, Live Forever guy, sitting there with his umbrella hat on to protect himself from the sun while he's commentating. I'm like, this is absurd. Like, I don't even know. Ron, did you watch this?
I did, but like in pieces. I didn't really like.
You got like clips because we didn't talk about this low key. It was actually pretty wild, and I thought I was going to watch it in its entirety, the whole 5 hours of it, and I lost interest probably an hour in. Checked back in a little later, caught some clips, and that's great. And to your point, Ryan, when you're talking about depth, right, of the charts, I do think that that's something that's probably a little overstated on social media because now, I mean, you know how it goes. Once the ball gets rolling and everybody's shitting on something, they're just like, oh, these guys suck. This event sucked. Everything sucked. There's a lot of former Olympians in there who retired or got injured and did come back and beat their personal bests. And, there's a lot to be said for that. But there's also a lot of guys that are just past their prime. You know what I mean? Like, it's awesome. They were able to come back and beat their PBs, but what were their PBs 10 years ago? They weren't the gold medalists. You know what I mean? It's like, that's great. And you know how fast records grow and just get out of hand. And that's where this stuff is. I think you see significantly better performances overall with the gear usage coming down from what it was. Like, I can't explain to you guys. These guys are on grams of stuff, grams of wet steroids, just putting on pounds of tissue. It's like, give these guys the types, right? The specific anabolics that just aid in motor recruitment, right? That don't put a ton of tissue on. That gives you that fast twitch, that boom, that explosive power. They just kind of went crazy with this and turned it into this like guinea pigging human like experiment, which I guess is interesting to watch, but the results speak for themselves.
Very underwhelming with the performances in turn. Like, we thought we were going to see next level. Oh my God, every record's getting destroyed, taken for a ride, and completely not that. Completely not that. And you wonder to an extent, were these people ever number one in the first place, or did the sport just pass them by and gear's not going to make up for it for you? As a whole, though, if you're going to do this, and Ron, I'm going to get your impression, but if you're going to do this, if it's going to be like the games and you're supposed to be the Olympic Games with steroids, you need more athletes so people tune in and cheer for people from their own country against other countries, against what didn't sell. Even if it was what did not sell was just tune in for exhibition. Let me see if this guy, this girl can break this record, or maybe two people in it. People didn't give a shit. Apparently people didn't give a shit because we're still at under 1 million views 2 weeks later, which is insane. We'll have a freaking fitness person get millions of views in that. I mean, Jeff Nippard could have destroyed, been lapping them, to use a sports term there. Like, it's crazy. And what we're seeing, drawing some parallels to powerlifting, exhibition lifts compared to a deep talent pool, people might be okay with, or seem to be okay with, if the totals come down because it's tested, but it's 10 people, top 5 could win, fucking tune in. It's battles all over the place. People from all over the world. Choose your country. You don't have to know them personally.
Unless it's next level freaky. Unless it's a Colton. Unless it's a John.
Right.
If they're going to go there and not break world records, right? It's not like the top 5 were like Sheffield, right? 101% to 107% of the world record. But it's like, you guys are all going to be on this gear. You guys are going to look like Captain America and just like not crush it, But at the same time, it's like there's 42, you said 42 athletes?
42.
Yeah.
That's absurd. But I do also understand, right? Former athletes, especially who might still have brand deals and stuff, who built a career on being clean, right? Now they're in their heads going to be broadcasted to the world as these guys that were totally cool going not clean. I can see that not being the most attractive thing for, a certain amount of them. But 42 is not enough. You could
Not
definitely
enough, man.
42. There's more than 42 at any untested powerlifting meet. It's like, figure it out, dude,
Ron, what do you think?
Yeah, I so when I first saw like them starting to like advertise it, like initially, like 2 years, 2.5 years ago, it was one of those things where I was like, that's not gonna happen. Like I just genuinely did not think it would actually happen. So for it to actually happen, I guess like that in and of itself is like commendable and is actually like an amazing feat that they pulled it off. Um, but besides that, like yeah, it was pretty like disappointing. Like I think for something so small to actually be like, viral and actually be impactful, like world records have to be getting like broken left, right, and center. Like it needed to be like, damn, this person just outran Bolt. Damn, this
Yeah.
person just outswam Phelps. Like it needed to be like, this is what we could achieve. Not what like I didn't even know what that was. Like I don't know what the financial like like structure behind that is, or like how that was even feasible for them, because they spent more dollars than they got views. So it's like what like I don't even I don't even know, but like as you said, the biggest thing for me was like, well, besides all the things that Johnny said, but was like the parallels to powerlifting were crazy because it's like you have this essentially like enhanced competition where you have like a bunch of money being given out. And maybe not like powerlifting right now, but more so like powerlifting, 2017, 2018, etc., 2016. And then you have this other side, which is like the structured side. You represent your country, you have avenues and levels and, like different ranks to climb up through. And then you just have the other side where it's like, okay, we have the money and it's the best of the best. And, you represent yourself and everything like that. And clearly for like a lot of the top athletes and a lot of the athletes who are currently in their prime, like the money itself just like wasn't enough to like really lure them. Because I think besides Fred Curley and the swimmer guy, which I don't even know his name, so I don't even know if he's still like, at the top of his game. But I think besides those guys, everyone was like retired or just like maybe like a B-tier athlete in the Olympics or something like that. And then I don't really count Hafthor and Machupa because they're already untested, so um yeah, it was interesting. I commend them for pulling it off. I don't know where they're gonna take it from here over the course of the next 3 years, but financially, I just don't see how it's adding up. And I think they should come to powerlifting and throw a tested meet because I would love for them to put that kind of money behind tested powerlifting. That would be amazing. So
It's like if you have people on the untested side who can't beat you head to head, despite the fact that they're in the untested. And then it also loses its allure. Like if you're going to tune in and be like, well, there's a guy on the tested side doing more than that or equivalent, and he's clean, then it's like it. To Johnny's point earlier, you got to smash it. Like Colton is crushing it. All right. Everyone's like, I don't know what the hell he's going to do next. This is wild. Colton's crushing it. But if Colton was like neck and neck with the guy who's natty or beneath in terms of total, it's what are we doing here? No, you're suffering. No one's going to tune in.
I do think it's straight execution, though. I mean, this concept, right? When this was initially announced on the internet, period, this was massive. I think I could find probably multiple individual reels talking about the topic that did 5 times the views or numbers than the actual event did, which just goes to show, right? It's like no matter how cool of a product you have or it's supposed to have, if you destroy the marketing leading up to it, if you destroy the event, like nobody cares. You know what I mean? They could have done this 100 different ways, and I think they picked the worst one.
What were they doing?
In terms of marketing,
Yeah.
every marketing, I can speak to what I got served, right? Because I was targeted with a bunch of these ads. It was just like TRT clinic stuff.
God.
Like, oh, you can be on these peptides and you can be, I'm like, dude, what are you guys doing? And then there were a few, I think that they posted where they were athlete spotlights, but the athletes were really more so just talking about, from what I saw, talking about how this is giving them life again, how this is not like down and dirty. I'm training. Look at me. I'm destroying this stuff. It's like putting this much money into it. There should be a camera crew, 42 athletes. That's not a lot of people. There should be a camera crew with at least the top 20 of them documenting every second of their natural to actual performing.
Yeah.
It would go crazy. That would go crazy.
Transformations are huge. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, but you're right. What happens when you take an Olympian that people watched for years, right? And you start giving them, and you can watch this weekly episode, 16 weeks leading into it, this massive cycle that these guys are on, literally just morphing week to week. Each episode, they look like a different human being. They're beating times, even if they do end up falling short of the world record. Building that storyline into this stuff, and you being like, wow, I saw that guy 4 months ago. He looks like a totally different guy. That gets people to watch, even if the performances are underwhelming. The only thing that could have saved this with the way that they marketed and ran the event is if people performed, and they didn't. So it was overall just a botch. And I am waiting for next year just because I think they know it was a botch. If they don't, they have their eyes closed and their ears covered. But if they do go ahead and take constructive feedback and really change this thing up, the concept is cool. I know the concept, everybody knows the concept's cool. There's a reason why everybody was excited about it. And there's a reason why everybody's talking about it now with how poorly it did, and it's because people had high expectations.
So what could they do to fix this, to get this up right? Because not what they could have done the first time around. The fact that they botched this so hard is going to be hard to bring people in now. It would have served them to do it better the first time. Once you have a kick at the can, and now it's like people are styling on you, it's a lot harder. Now that it's already happened, flop like it did, and no records were broken, you got that stuck now. It's going to be really hard to hype this next year, but come on, guys, no, this time we're serious. A lot of records are going to go, and people, it's like Sheffield being like, records will be broken, and no records are broken. And then next year being like, no, seriously. Sheffield's record's going to be broken, and people will be like, "Yeah, right, yeah, okay." But like,
all right, buddy.
Yeah. What do you do? Do you make more athletes? What's that?
Step one is acknowledgement. Too often with things like this, and it's happened with big untested. It's happened in sport in general. Let's not even talk about it. Powerlifting, right? People make this thing, whatever the event might be, to be this huge, grandiose things. It falls short, and they almost like skip past it. Like they're like, next year. It's like, no. Acknowledge that. You just fucked that up like royally. Like say that. Like it's like, yo, guys, we botched. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate all of your viewership and all of your comments. We're going to listen to this. And here's how we're going to change. Like actually do it and communicate to this audience that you screwed up. You're going to change it in this, and this way, whichever way. I hope exactly what I just said would be one way to fix it in terms of the lead up, right? Like most people didn't even know this was happening on the weekend. It was happening. Yeah. Maybe 2 days before, they're like, oh my God, now? Like I didn't know. This could have been in 5 years. This could have been 2 years ago. They just completely screwed up the marketing, which as much as the event sucked, like the fact that people didn't know this was happening, most of the views I'd imagine are like retrospective. Like people are like, oh my God, let me go watch this. I didn't know this happened this weekend. Fixing the marketing, making sure that you stay on one event. Please, my God, watch the deadlift, and we want to watch them deadlift. I don't care if there's commentary and it's B-roll of them sitting there squeezing honey into their mouth in between each of the attempts. Like stay on topic. Nobody wants to watch this stuff bounce around.
Yeah.
Add athletes, make this take place over days. You know what I mean? This should be an event, not like oh my God, I didn't know it was happening today, and I was busy this afternoon. I missed the entire thing. You know what I mean? Like literally, like if you're at work, you miss the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I think doing it this poorly, when you're asking what to fix, it's like literally doing the opposite of everything you just did.
Might be good advice.
Fix it. You know what I mean?
Story of my life, by the way, but that's good advice. Yeah, if I could redo it all. No, but but I think 100%.
You got it.
Rondel, what do you think?
I agree with Johnny. I think like and the thing with the marketing and everything like that is like it would be good, but if the event is the same way, we have less than 50 athletes, one record gets broken, super short event, no like, it's not over the span of a week or something like that. Then it essentially like no amount of marketing is gonna save it. And then the third year is gonna be like even worse than the first one. Um, I think they need more athletes for sure. Like if it is you have that many, like if you're doing what, three disciplines? Was it sprinting, swimming, and like deadlift? That was it?
I think so. Uh,
They had weightlifting, like Olympic weightlifting.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's what I was
yeah.
But it was so bad. My man was missing, and they're like, give him a fourth attempt. And there was like, they were on the fly trying to make a record fall. They're like, God, fucking give him another one. Like, I swear to God, they would have kept sending Playboy out there for like his seventh try. Like, my man, take 10 minutes.
That was crazy. The Oli was crazy. Not breaking an Olympic weightlifting record is obnoxious. Like you gotta. That might be the biggest botch of the entire thing when I think about it, to be honest. But it was also probably the juiciest Olympic weightlifting sport, or the juiciest Olympic sport. So there's that.
But like more athletes for sure, like and like have it span days, like have it be like a thing where like, okay, yeah, we have this day, but like I'm really looking forward to this on this other day or something like that. Something like the way in which the Olympics is like is a reason why that format works, right? And it has been working for so long. And wait, are they doing it yearly? So there's one next year?
They have a 3-year contract.
Somebody's likes losing money. Let me tell you something.
They have a lot of it. That's the guy who's backing it. Is the whatever Brian Johnson guy. I mean, they have a bunch of people. You saw the CEO who looked like a cartoon character. Like, I don't freak me out. But they have huge backers. They need huge backers. Look at the event they put. You know what I mean? In terms of production, I can't knock them there. That thing looked incredible overall. But they took a massive loss. And to be able to make up for this, it would take probably a 5-year contract and the next 4 years to be absolute bangers in terms of making up for this loss. Because this was like despicable. Another disappointing, untested situation.
God, it's crazy. But like people from powerlifting probably could have told them, but they did make a lot of mistakes. I think if you're going to do a day of swimming events, a day of track events, a day of, lifting events, whether it's ollie lifting, strongman, deadlift, whatever. If you do it like that and hang there in the pocket and tell their stories in between, have commentators and talk about it, show clips, pre-recorded clips of these athletes and their comebacks and the transformations and whatever, something, people from this country, that country, and holy shit, they're about to show down. These heated rivals. They were rivals 10 years ago. Now they're back. Now they're back to renew this rivalry and let's go. Like, you need something. You need something more than just... Look at, even if you're breaking records in the untested scene, it's got to be more than just watch me break this record. Oftentimes, it's got to be more than that. You need more than that. You should be excited. I'm just doing really well on my own. That is only so much. You need sports as competition, head to head, and so I don't know. They definitely need more athletes, split it up. Tell the stories. It's going to be extremely difficult at this point, though. You got to unpack. We're talking about not just the marketing, and it's the marketing, but changing the entire format to. I mean, they need to throw the old concept out and be like, all right, well that didn't work. Let's try something entirely new. Let's do like a mini Olympics, is what we're expecting. It doesn't have to be as big as Olympics. Do a mini Olympics.
The playbook's there. They just do their own thing. It's like you have the best sporting event in history. Just do it on drugs. That's all.
That's the bill we were sold.
You know what I mean? It's not that difficult. So hopefully they do it, because I think all of us can say that would be awesome to watch them succeed in this. Like this would be
the tough part about it, what I'm thinking as well, is that like it would be even more difficult for them next year, because athletes who were maybe like on the fence or whatever watching the event, like they saw the money or whatever, but It's like, damn, do I want to like essentially like throw away my career possibly for
Great
like
point.
for a bad event? Like it's just, like because there is no like infrastructure or ecosystem outside of that, right? It's just like if I'm a sprinter and I'm in the enhanced games, all I am in is the enhanced games. I'm not in like the International Track Association. I'm
Even if
not
you were clean before, you go
yeah.
in the enhanced games, be like, fuck it. I used to be clean. Let me see what happens now. I'm in my late 30s. I just want to see. And then you do it once. Everyone like, you were always dirty first off. Then I'll always carry with you. And
Yeah.
well, the thing flopped and you got nothing for it. So there you go. That's what you did. That's what you did. That's the vital.
100%. Yeah, it's a gamble. That's
Yeah,
what
it's
you're
a-
doing. You're just
yeah.
gambling. Any new athlete coming in next year has got to really believe in this thing, and they did not do a lot for themselves here. So,
All right, moving on, fellas. Let me hear your reaction. Stefi Cohen returned. And to an
yeah,
extent, there's some parallels here. I'll tell you where I'm going with this. Stefi Cohen, 100% in 2019, Kern against Mariana Gasparyan, tip of the spear in terms of powerlifting at the time, in terms of her reach, in terms of talent. It was her and Gasparyan who were leading the charge there in that event. Returns now, and it was like the untested isn't what it was, so it wasn't going to be the same. Like just one person coming back isn't going to entirely turn the tide in terms of the untested. But I want to get your guys' impression in terms of her performance back. Here's the thing. Powerlifting has moved so far since 2019. If you look at the totals that were done at IPF World Championships 2019, and you look at the totals that are being done now at the IPF Championships in 2025, 2026, her total in the untested with sleeves is less than you're going to see at the IPF World Championships in a week and a half. Well, I mean, it's already less than the IPF. It is already less than the IPF world record on the tested side. And I guarantee you Sarah Naldi's clean. This is not one of these, she ain't changing her life by going to the IPF world. You know what I'm saying? It's just not a $10 million contract where she's playing MLB hitting home runs.
absolutely.
Right? All that, or whatever. So in terms of her being back, it's good because she does have a big name. But is the impact going to be like she can, not just her, it's putting a lot on saving a whole division, but what could the impact be? What did you expect? What do you think people expected in powerlifting? Because while she left, people are still here and they're going to see the weight lifted. And while it by no means is it like embarrassed, she embarrassed herself. No, nothing like that. But you were going to see women on the tested side outlift her by decent margins. She might even come in silver. I mean, Joy Namani might be outlifting her, Sarah Naldi outlifting her. We're talking bronze medal, God forbid, if she wouldn't even podium at IPF Worlds. There's a gap here. I don't know if that's going to be the big impact on tested that we were hoping for if a star returns, or were we hoping too much if that's what we were thinking. I don't know. We actually had this conversation before, Johnny, and you made good points about stars leaving and what would happen if they come back. Let me get your impression on all this.
All right. I got to be careful, just a little careful. Like Stefi, stars leaving and coming back, there's a lot of conditions to that, right? How much time has passed? What have you done in the meantime, right? Let's take Ron, for example. Ron's a great example. Ron did not leave. Ron was forced to leave for 8 years, right? Ron wins at Junior Worlds. And what is Ron? Ron, what have you done over the last 8 years? You messing around? You boxing? Are you running? Are you doing stuff? No, you built your total. There's a reason why we are anticipating your comeback here, right? If Ron completely went off and did other things in life, athletic, not athletic, whatever it was, and then decided, oh, my band's up, I'm going to throw together a 16-week prep and I'm going to do everything I can. You would not be within 300 pounds, 400 pounds of what you are about to do in a week or two, okay? So let's at least take that. Let's give her that credit, right?
Yeah.
Where at this point, it's been a lot of time. She has had a lot of life, right? Let's not bring up any negative stuff, but she has had a hell of a last few years in
Fair.
terms of stress and just changing conditions. But what I was really disappointed to see with Steffi, right? Somebody that was a superhero of mine, was a superhero of so many. Um, and is I think the biggest power lifter of all time in terms of social media and number, right? Something like
Or
that.
Larry Wheels up there.
Larry,
Yeah, yeah.
Larry, something like that, right? Um, was the way that she approached this, where this wasn't her first meet back, right? We're saying this is her comeback. She did a meet like 4 months ago, right? We all watched it 5 months ago. It was in the IPL. She said she took world records. She did the classic. I took a Fed record in a technically international Fed, so it's a world record. Absolute garbage. No world records taken. She massively improved on that performance, which is great. But what I was looking for, um, and it's unfair to put these expectations on her. She's in a different space in her life. Maybe she wasn't trying to do everything she could to succeed here. That's what you expect because that's the Steffi we all know. The reckless abandon, just I'm all in on this. Like, this is great. She's lifting. She texted me maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, asking if I was in Chicago. She thought I still lived there to train. And I was like, oh, I don't live there. I just got down to Houston right now, but I was in Utah at the time. And I was wondering, who is she going to train with? Like, how is this going to look? Steffi has been training in commercial gyms on bumpers, didn't take a single pull above 200 keys without straps. And it showed. I was really happy with the squat on the abs platform. I would say the abs platform has the strictest judging for depth, period, including the IPF. It's obnoxious. And it's consistent, is the thing. There is nothing that isn't, if you're like right there on depth, it almost might hurt their standards slightly, to be honest. If you're right there, it's high, period. I've seen slightly high squats with people with big quads get past in the IPF. I've seen people that bury it also get rejected, but it's a pretty consistent, admirable standard that abs upholds. And there was a question as to how she was going to do with this, and she smoked it, right? She took a pretty easy 200 kilo. It looked like she had 5 to 7.5, maybe even 10, honestly. And it looked like she was probably doing that to preserve the pole, like, energy for the pole, which makes sense if the pole's going to be there. But you can't be Butterfingers. Like, it was a very amateur mistake. What are you doing on your comeback to powerlifting? Pulling every pull with straps going into this on bumpers. Like, I was just like, oh, like, I know what's going to happen. I said it 5 weeks before when I was getting questions like about this. I was like, Landry is probably going to bomb on squats. If she doesn't, she's going to hit her opener. I think now she's 2 for 9 on the abs platform for hitting depth. And Steffi, if she doesn't bomb on pulls, is going to go 1 for 3. And it's going to lead to this massively underwhelming thing where you watched her, granted, on these bumpers and all this ridiculous stuff, but strapped, if we're just talking horsepower wise, right? Pull into those low fives that she used to pull. And it was super cool. I just knew it wasn't going to translate to the platform and it didn't. So being ill prepared, out of your prime, coming back to something 2 meets in, if she actually decides to come back, right? If this isn't like a fun thing that she's doing 2, 3 meets, she is a dog. That she has a mentality like very few. She's as competitive as anybody I've ever met in my entire life. I'd like to see her step it the fuck up when it comes to preparing for these meets because she needs to. The talent pool is here, and you can't capitalize on the fact that there's no depth in untested. You need to be comparing yourself to the tested lifters if they're outlifting you. The same way that Ron, while he was banned, when we're at the showdown in 2021, whatever it is, he's not comparing himself to the guys 10 places under him on the tested side. He was solely thinking about Zach Myers and Danny as they're doing stuff in front of his face, going, I got that. Like, give me a sec, That's it. You just got to compete with the top of the field, and she should be there. I think she has the genetic potential to, but this was predictably underwhelming given her preparation, in my opinion.
Compete with the top of the field. Are you talking in the tested though?
Screw tested, untested. The top of the field, the top of the people, the strongest people. You have no excuse. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah,
taking
100%.
gear.
What
What we're talking about.
the thing is, for me, like, for her to be like, even if she's neck and neck with Sarah Naldi, I'm not going to be that
Shouldn't be.
impressed. I'm not going to be impressed.
Agreed.
Yeah, like you look at Sarah Naldi. God bless Sarah Naldi's Jack, but you look at Stefi Cohen, and it's like, holy shit, they're like two different,
Of course. Which I do think this is me talk. This is straight conjecture coming out of my mouth right now. But I do think that probably played into it too, where she's somewhat relying on that side of things, the gear side of things, to just do it for her to a certain extent. You know what I mean? She got ridiculously more jacked. I mean, she's always jacked. She's Steffi. But coming into this meet, like, damn, like you just turned into an absolute brick house, you know? Of course, it shouldn't be neck and neck. But my point is, if she's not even neck and neck, if you're
yeah,
under it, it's like,
yeah.
what are we doing saying I'm the best on the untested side? That's not even a thing. Like, what do we think? If the untested side isn't better than the tested side, you're not the best at anything, you know?
Okay, fair. I got what you're saying now.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
Ron, what's your impression, sir?
Yeah, so I didn't even know that she came back until like you had said that you wanted to discuss it on the pod. So and I was just looking at the post there, like yeah, she has like 1 million followers and stuff like that, but it didn't really make that big of a splash. So yeah, I think as Johnny said, like if she chooses to, okay, this was like, just like get my foot wet, get back in the game kind of thing, like, and now I'm about to like double down and really get back to being who I was, then yeah, I think she could have like play like a big role in really getting the untested, like, re-energized and everything like that.
But let me ask you
But
something here. Hang on. Does her returning to what she was, my man, I would pose to you, that isn't going to get people energized. What she was doesn't stack up to what is in the IPF now. What you were isn't good enough anymore. She needs to be
Wait a minute. What do you mean? Numbers wise, or are we talking like standing in the community and as
numbers.
yeah,
Numbers.
so I say, her best raw total is 525 and Raps is 580.
So
Serenality alone was
Serenali's 530 now.
yeah.
Like this is what I'm saying in wraps, like so you take a wraps off and I don't know if that was whippy bar and blah blah blah, like it depends. I don't know exactly what her wrapped total from back that was 580 was. What I opposed you is her old version. This is where we got, because powerlifting has moved so much. We did a podcast when IPF first introduced the classic division in 2012 to 2025. 24x, 24 times more people now powerlift than when the IPF first did that. So let's say halfway point, 2019, Steffi's prime is still halfway point. We might be like, raw numbers. What are we, 12x since then? Like, so is Steffi, like her at her peak strength, is she elite? Is she even capable of being elite? She's got a massive following, no doubt. But to your point, Ron, in terms of, I don't know if like this is where she rejuvenates a side due to her lifting. And I don't know if the massive following, I don't know who's still active on there and who's like what she's known for these days, because she just came back to powerlifting and what she's been doing. You could still be an online personality and I'm not totally up on it, but I don't know. I don't know if if she's got the talent to be able to do that. I'm not trying to be rough. I'm totally critiquing her as an athlete.
No, so am I.
Yeah.
No.
Which we do. This is a fucking sports podcast.
She knows. She's an athlete. She's a
Yeah.
tough woman. No, woman. Tough athlete, right?
Yeah.
The elite for sure, right? If we're talking about if her genetic potential is elite, of course it is. Elite relative to what? Elite relative to the total pool. If you take away all the factors, if we're just talking numbers, right? At this body weight, forget drugs, forget everything. She did this on a stiff bar, right? This wasn't on a deadlift bar.
Yeah.
This is apples to apples everywhere besides drugs. She can hang, right? And the fact that she did right now, and if you want to, you like fighting, right? You like combat sports. If you want to chalk this up to a ring rust situation, right? You watch a fighter come back. Most of the time, it doesn't go very well, right? Fighting's tough. But their first fight back is horrible for the most part. You know what I mean? They could come back in shock, but oftentimes it's like, damn, this sport moved past me a little bit. I'm gonna have to dig deep and find something that I had before that was good enough, and I'm gonna need to take it to a next level for me to do this. And she does have that dog in her, right? For lack of a better way to put it. Where if she does want to do this, I think she can hang with just about anybody that's there. It's just is hanging enough, you know? Like I don't think so. Like it's not gonna be like that. Um, I hope she sticks with this as not like a stunt, you know what I mean? Not like, oh, I need some attention, which I'm not saying is why she did it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is, right? Where it's like, hey, I need to break out of this really not fun past few years I've had. I'm going to return to my base. I'm going to do, tried and true what built me. And hopefully it brings back some nostalgia and give me a somewhat clean slate here. But I think she can definitely improve on this by prepping the way that anybody preps. And I am not talking about the top of the field. I'm talking about the bottom of the field. I'm talking about teens, weak teens, lifting to standard on competition equipment, starting at least 16 weeks out from a meet, not going out and not to the social, all of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like put up 518 like this. What does she have? She can do something.
I would say, 100%. You got to train. You got to take this 100% serious. What I will give is, she is now starting to do videos where like she's talking about Colton's lifts and it's drawing attention. So with you got 1 million followers, if now she's starting to come back to powerlifting more than just competing, but also her focus, it still helps. And if she's focusing on particularly untested, to our point of the last podcast, Johnny, about like what'll help, that'll still help. She's using star power in focusing on it. It can only be a plus. I just posed to you that going apples to apples with the tested is not going to be impressive to almost anyone else. And I would expect if you're in the untested, your total should be like lining up with a weight class up, which would be the 63s. And that's Alba Bolstrom doing 585. And I don't see Stefi doing that kind of stuff. If she does, God bless. I think the game has moved on in terms of her being able to be a star like that. But in terms of her star power is, this is who I am, Stefi Cohen. I got a following and I compete. I have fun. You could watch me compete and let me talk about what's current. 100%. 100%. Maybe she molds and finds her new avenue as that. And she can. And she certainly has done battles and done enough to be able to be like, hey, look, I know what it's like to be in a battle. I know what it's like to break records, legitimate, and do all these things. 100%. And if she's kind of just moonlighting, because she might in the back of her head know, hey, fuck, what are we doing here? I'm not going to catch up to these girls right now. So I'm going to jump, you know what I mean? That's what I think it might be. Agreed. And that's good. That's fine. I'm cool with that.
I was about to say, it's a value add to the sport.
100%.
Question. It's just, I think, maybe slightly unfair to put the expectations on her that people have. It's like a Mike Tyson type of thing where this dude, she's not 60, right? I'm not talking about it. Like, you know what I mean? But where people are like, this dude's going to come in and it's like, yo, give the guy some grace. It's awesome he's back in the ring. This dude is huge. You know what I mean? Biggest there's ever been. A Stefi powerlifting to a Mike Tyson in boxing, right? And it's just cool to see him get in there, get her, step back on and do her thing. And I hope she chooses to actually do her thing and maximize it. Because regardless of what her ceiling is, it'll be cool to watch her do that. I just hope she does.
Now let me ask you guys this. Does this change your opinion on Larry Wheels coming back, his potential impact in terms of numbers and impact overall? Rod, Johnny, you take it because you were saying previously. Let me hear.
Larry's a different. What are we talking about? Dude, Larry, not that this isn't. You understand what Larry is, bro? Like, Larry is not.
Probably not fully.
Right? Larry at this point, I think he's walking around 300 pounds, ish, right? And now he's doing this MMA stuff because I think he said he feels his spark back. Like he needs his passion and he needs his, his that anger. He was always an angry lifter where most people that doesn't benefit them, that actually hurts them. Larry lifting violently always helped the guy. This dude's baseline that he has held, he did not leave lifting weights ever. Steffi did. Steffi left like almost entirely, not training, but boxing and all this stuff. Larry, while he was gone, hit his best. He had like a 675 bench. Like he hit 900 pounds in sleeves barefoot at zoo. You know what I mean? Like this, if he wants to, I think Larry coming back, if you want to talk about blowing 300-ish pound lifters in the IPF out of the water, we have a very different conversation. We have at least a mid eights, most likely high eights squats to a questionable standard being done. You have a bench not to a questionable standard being done at 600 plus minimum, most likely low sixes minimum, possibly mid sixes. The deadlift, that dude is every bit as horsepower strong as he was if he wants to be. Larry coming back is a different story. It just doesn't matter because Colton's here now. And at 308, it's just, like nobody's going to do that. But if you want to talk about something that would bring attention back and relative to tested, blow it out of the water in terms of just pure numbers, Larry coming back is a different story, in my opinion.
And this is why we need it. Going back to the previous story we covered with enhanced games, that's the expectation. Like when people think you're untested, not to belabor the point, but they expect you to blow it out of the water. Steffi is unable to. If Larry is, welcome back, Larry Wheels.
Exactly.
Welcome back, Larry Wheels. Absolutely. And you don't have to beat Colton. You just, people probably go nuts seeing him peaking and, hitting the platform and whatever.
Ron, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Larry's definitely different to Steffi. Like Larry, beyond the numbers, like Larry was known for excuse me, just like those like viral moments that he's had, like with him like bleeding from his chest, just going crazy, like stuff like that. Like the overhead press, like so many different things like that Larry was known for. So like him coming back to powerlifting, I think would be huge. Um, Even if he necessarily like doesn't necessarily like live up to the hype of like, oh, I'm like now, the best lifter in my weight class or anything like that. But yeah, I think it would definitely be different. I don't know if he is though, because he's been talking about it now for the past what, like year, and he's always going from like different stuff to, and I think like he recently got divorced and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know where his head is at.
Wasn't Abs though also talking about bringing Larry back? And maybe they were trying to. Like did that? I swear, didn't I even see a picture with Abs and Larry? Or
Here's the thing, regardless of trying, right? Like Larry has never been the dude, even the meets that he did do, he would just like decide to do it, rapidly peak, and then just do it. He's one of those guys that can afford to. Like, I would love to see Larry when he was late teens, that Larry, early 20s, like that maroon singlet days, like Larry doing just straight up powerlifting, focused, not one arm deadlifting 675, and then the next day going for a bench PR and hitting it, granted. And then the next day standing overhead press 500 pounds behind the neck. It's like this dude was hitting world records while maximizing social media. He was a clout lifter while destroying world records. Really one of a kind in his own way. If he's all in and he wants to do this, he could decide probably 12 weeks out and do it. And he has no loyalty to a fed or a commitment or anything. If he decides this is what I'm doing for the next 2, 3 months, he'll do it. And it might be there. I would be the most surprised human being in the world if he decided to do abs.
oh really? Why do you think that?
Because he doesn't, the standards are, he hasn't squatted to that depth ever. He barely parallel. You know what I mean? On like at the right meets. Parallel. It's like, all right, well, that was fast and athletic, and that is a angry dude. I'm gonna give him a white, like, cool. That's not happening at apps. Like, he'll bomb on squats. I don't think, well, certainly not with a barbell. He needs a certain amount of weight on there to even hit parallel. But like to really get down there, we're talking clearing hip crease by like an inch. That's not happening with almost any intensity for Larry without a serious amount of dedication. And the way that he does gear, you know what I mean, in terms of these like rapid, huge cycles, it's like it doesn't lend itself to being very mobile if you're not, right? I think it would be an XPC, NPL, 365 strong RPS, that kind of situation. And guess what? That's what it always was for the most part, And he's Larry off of those meets, and that would be cool. But if he got on an abs platform, that would be sick. I would love to see that. And I'd love for him to shut me up, but I just don't see that happening at all.
Fair enough. All right, fellas, let's have a couple key questions about the IPF World Championships. Right around the corner, here it is, the biggest event in our community, and it's about to take place. So I got a few key questions here for you fellas, and then we can discuss. All right? First and foremost, in the 66 kilo class, Shell Backlund did 782.5. And he says in 2026, he wants to do 800 kilos. Closest lifter to him is 732.5. Joe Jordan. And if you take a look at that spread, we're talking 50 kilos, and you compare it to Perk in the 74s, who is talking about 900 kilos. He's done, was it 790? What is it? Ron, you could pull it up if you don't mind, kind sir. I should know.
What, in training?
No, Playboy. Hold on one sec.
Perk's last meet?
Yeah.
891.
891.
891, thank you.
Yeah.
891. And then the closest 74 to him is, of course, Elliot Sykes, who's 852.5.
But not at World.
Not at Worlds.
Yeah.
But let me ask you something. Because I posed this to the KOTL community, relatively split. Who is tougher to beat? Shell in the 66s or Perk in the 74s? And I'm not talking any location or anything like that. It's got to be a World. It's got to be this. Who is tougher to beat?
You're saying, wait. Sorry. You said at Worlds or anywhere?
Nope. Can be anywhere. Just period. This is an open question. Who is tougher to beat?
This was split?
Give it to me.
You're exposing the hell out of your audience right now, Ryan. You got a lot of knowledgeable guys. That's crazy, dude. What are we talking about? He's the hardest guy to beat in the world. Screw a weight class or a comparison. You're talking about the number one pound for pound lifter in the world. He's by far the harder guy to beat. And I get it, right? We're talking about two guys that have a ton of experience. Shell being probably one of the only lifters in the world with more experience than Perk, which I learned on this last podcast. I was not familiar with the depth of this man's game. But when you're talking about his 891, right? Contextualizing it the same way we did last time, right? That 891 is not maximal. There wasn't a single lift that was maximal. He missed a third bench that shouldn't have been missed. It sucked that he did. He just pressed 220 so easily twice in the same week. And it's not one of those cutesy, little pauses like, oh, wow, that was such a nice training lift. We're talking about like a very comp standard on 2 separate days in the same week, reliable bench, right? Where let's say everything goes wrong and he takes it down by 2.5, fine. Let's say he takes it up by 2.5, cool. The pull, that doesn't work, right? This 891 being a result of a utter failure by the Fed to not wipe down this bar, and actually not wipe it down, refuse to wipe it down when asked. This total, in my opinion, saying this 891, this is what he's done, is not fair, and it's not accurate. This dude has 900 pocketed. And I mean, I was with him, 2 days ago. So I'm exhausted and a little sick right now at this event. But we got to sit down after the event and talk a lot of powerlifting for a few hours. What this guy has in the tank is stupid. And this is not to diminish Shell at all. Shell may very well do this 800, but you got to give the credit to the number one pound for pound lifter in the world at being the hardest to beat, especially when you're talking about Elliot, who, like I said on last podcast, if he was at Worlds, wouldn't beat Perk, but the number 2 guy isn't there. It's an insane difference. Ron, do you have any difference of opinion on that?
Well, let me steel man case. Let me give something here. So let's give Perk 900. Let's give him 900.
Let's give him more.
Let's give him 902 and a half. Let's
Okay.
give him 902 and a half. 50 kilo spread between him and Elliot. But there's already a 50 kilo spread between Joe Jordan and Shell Becklin. And they're smaller, so per like in terms of adding it, the percentage difference is actually bigger. A spread between Shell and the other 6'6". I'm with you. I think Perk is the number 1 pound for pound king. But the problem is the number 2 pound for pound might actually be in the 74s. Whereas, so if you look at it that way, where the number 2 might actually be in the 74s, tougher to beat. Elliott would raise his hand and say, I think I'm, look, there's a spread, but I'm closer than, say, Joe Jordan or the rest of the 66s are to Shell. There's a bigger step for those gentlemen. Elliott would tell you there's a much bigger step between those gentlemen and me and Perk. But, sure. Ron, could you steel man case that? What do you think?
I could. Like, I could see that perspective of, like, okay, just because we, like the second best 66 is Joe Jordan. If we're looking at the second best 74, being Elliott, technically and percentage wise and everything like that, like based on the numbers that they have like right now on paper, Elliott is closer to Perk than Joe is to Shell. But just looking at what Perk is doing in training, looking at like where he actually
We're talking training. We're talking training here, fellas. We're talking training.
What's that? Best indicator of how a meet's gonna go? Yeah, bro.
Not always.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. It's still a conversation. This still has to be a conversation because Shell's got a spread on these 66s. And for sure. I'm not saying Shell's pound for pound the best in the world, but there was a spread. If I wake up the next day after Worlds, if I woke up and like, who won? And you told me it wasn't Shell, what the fuck happened? How did he give up 50 kilos in a 66? How was he a 66 giving up 50 kilos and still loses? Same with Perk. I mean, Elliott's not there, but Elliott is special as shit. And I'd be like, fuck, Elliott probably posted something up in the late 800s. And Perk probably didn't hit 900, but he was in the late 800s. And maybe he got... It's still an upset. But to me, it isn't as crazy because there's Elliott Sykes existing in there. But for Shell, these other 66s are good, but it's... I don't know. For me, it's more, remember, I think our knee-jerk reaction to Perk as pound for pound king has got to be the hardest, where I'm more looking at the field. And there's a spread in these fields. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation only because of that.
No, you know what, man? It's just no. You just got to give them that credit, dude. Like, stop trying to build these storylines. I understand why, but like, what are we doing here? And if we wanted to, all right, let's if we're talking like objectivities here, right? Shell is not like supposed to be sick. We know this is a cut situation, right? Like there's way more variables surrounding Shell's performance than Perk. Perk trains at weight. Perk at a certain point was doing 6 SBD days a week. Like it's like or 5 SBD days a week, whatever it was. And we can't take away from either of their consistency, right? We know these two guys show up, but just given the fact that there are objectively more variables that can go wrong on Shell's side of things, and Perk is the number 1, right, at the moment, to give it to Shell is like kind of wild. You know what I mean? I look at you half sideways. I get the conversation and it is interesting, especially this entire time I've been very much so thinking about it at Worlds. When you get Elliott in there and we talk a year or two down the line, it becomes a very different conversation where it's like, hey, maybe you still won't beat him, but like this conversation, Shell to the next guy versus Perk to the next guy. Okay. But as it stands right now, give it to the guy, man. Like, what are we, 900? Like, you see what this guy did? Tripled 738. Like, what are we doing?
He's a freak. Okay, let me get to the next one. How about this one, fellas? In the 83s, who will leave, and think about this for a second, who's going to leave the Battle of the 83s with the biggest completed deadlift between Joe B and Ade?
Now we're talking. Okay.
Now, this is going to be interesting because Ade is, in this last run, started working with Marcellus, and his lifts, there's a new faith. I got you. The last 2 times Ade's loading up for the win with that big final deadlift, and he's not going to hit it. And if you're a Joe B fan, you're like, come on, right? It's going to be the same story. What gives a little more of a conversation is Ade actually hit 380 in in prep for this, held it, and it held firm on an SBD day, no less. Not just a single deadlift, on a deadlift day on its own, no less. And where people could say, is this the same old song? People could, Ade fans would battle back. He's with Marcellus now. There's a difference now. He made changes in prep, a whole new style of training, and we're seeing an SBD day close to body weight, holding a bigger deadlift. And if he gets that last deadlift, and in prep, by the way, that SBD day put him at, I think it was 903. Joe B's best total period is 904, and he's never gone over 9 internationally. So they're neck and neck. We're thinking they're neck and neck, and we're thinking the last deadlift, probably if things pattern repeats, Ade's going to load up for the win. So really what I'm asking you is Ade going to win this? Isn't it? Or is there a world where... Yeah. Okay, I think we're all on the same page there.
Ron?
No, he's not. I saw the training total, the 903, and it was cool, but you could still kind of see the same thing happening on the lockout. I just watched it back as well. And even after, like, if you look at the end of the reel, you could see in his face, like, he was a little bit like, almost like winded, like, almost like blackouty after the rep. And that is him training at, 85, 86-ish keys or whatever. I've seen that happen to him so many times that I cannot see it not happening to him. And I don't believe that's something that is like programming based or like peak or taper based or anything like that. I think that just might be him, or the way he grips the bar or whatever. So I foresee it being close. I foresee Joe going over 900. And if Adi has to pull anything over, if he has to pull 380, maybe he could pull it off. But if he has to pull over 380, I think is Joey B all the way.
What if he's got to pull 380?
50-50.
Because I'm opposed to you. These fellas talk big numbers, but historically speaking, we're seeing probably around 900, 902 and a half, 903.5, whatever. They probably might end up around there. It might be 380. And if you're saying 50-50, shit, man. John, what do you say?
51-49.
I have to say, I am with Ron here, right? Where I will say, right? Do not underestimate Marcellus, right? Love Marcellus. Watch him correct so many people's faults. But specifically the way that Ade pulls, right? If we want to nerd out here for a second, right? He's a mixed puller. And he is stiff. The man, it's great, right? It's why he squats what he squats. It's incredible. He benches what he benches. Great. But this man is a mixed puller, which means that anything underneath, like call it 95%, anything underneath 96%, you're not going to see this come out. It'll look like a very snappy lock. But we know that he's not going up against a guy who is going to allow him to load anything that is under 95% and win, right? We're talking about 100, maybe 101, 102%, whatever it might be. And when this happens, right, if you were to compare it to somebody like Enna, right, who is not a stiff guy, a very famous picture of Enna that I love is him locking out a pull, about to lock out a pull, with one hand basically dragging his knuckles on the ground and the other up by his hip, and he's almost fully stood up. As soon as that actually, as soon as you come over the knees and that supinated hand, you have this ridiculous asymmetrical engagement. His shoulder comes down to accommodate that, and he might have this really wonky lock, but it might finish. Ade is not bending like that, right? Super stiff, which means any play in that bar, anything that he has to have asymmetrical engagement-wise to finish this stuff, he's not bending. His body is not going to just morph to finish this out, which is why it rocks him onto forefoot and he tips or he drops or whatever it is. The safe call, knowing, I don't know what Joe's hit rate is, right? All these stats, whatever. The dude hits what he needs to hit very consistently. He's a very, very good player in this game. It can happen, right? We've seen that. all know that there are these meets where the guy with the big pole, it happens every once in a blue moon. But we're talking about predictions. I don't like predictions in this sport. I don't like doing I will so look forward to our post world
Yeah, yeah.
analysis pod because that's way more my speed. Um, but that's something that I can say, like from a biomechanical perspective, from his body just being stiff, he has a way higher likelihood of having to reach and rocking onto forefoot and dropping or just popping out of the hands.
And they're close. I mean, Joe B. 377.5 at A's 300 kilos for their final deadlift. And I mean that's just neck and neck. So, anyways, good question, good answers, fellas. Here's another one. So, Karlina
Really
Tong.
quickly, sorry,
Yep.
one thing.
Go
Does
ahead.
anybody, do you guys know why he doesn't use baby powder?
No shit, he doesn't.
Not from what I've seen. It drove me insane. I'm watching this 380 and low key, nobody would call it, but slight ramping, right? Like the second we hit those quads, you watch those hips just go slightly soft, those knees go, and then it clicks back. But like that would change so much for him. Where Ade, I have never spoken to you in my life. Marcellus, I certainly have, and I love you. Please put baby powder on this man's legs because they're huge and it might really change things up for him. I know I would never be ignorant enough to think that you haven't thought about this before, but like,
Nope.
He,
Nope.
he
Hey,
doesn't he doesn't comp, right? I
does
watched
he?
yeah, he
Okay,
does.
cool. Okay. I was watching the 380 and I was like, why does this dude not put baby powder
I
on
was
his
about
leg?
to say if he puts
Ah.
baby powder on and hits it, I'm crediting Johnny Kaufman on this one. And that's a fact. How about this? Karlina Tongatea moving up from the 76 kilo class. Karlina, world champion in the 76s as a 76, hit 628.5. 628.5. Head back to IPF Worlds last year. Amanda Lawrence didn't have her greatest performance, hit 627.5. She's under a lot more heat now. She had an off day last year, still won. She cannot have an off day this year because Karlina, as a 76, was going over that total. So Karlina now going into 84, conceivably, that 628.5 is going to go up. How far up, I don't know. We're not very far from 640s, are we? And Amanda has never left the 640s. Now she's got a two-time world champ, two-time Sheffield, multiple-time world record breaker head-to-head with her. And the likelihood Karlina is going to move into the 640 range, probably more likely than not, in my opinion. I don't see her bumping from 628.5 into the 630s. That's not a very big bump. She could probably do that if she stayed in 76s. But she's moving into 84s. And she had a hard time, she said, staying at 76, so we think we're going to see a bump here. Do we see Amanda Lawrence pressed and actually move this total into the 650s, maybe 660? What do we expect from Amanda Lawrence in the first time in a long time where she's actually going to face someone where it's, Amanda, if you have a bad day, you'll lose? And we haven't said that since 2019. And we already talked about how much the game has changed since 2019. Ron, you want to go first this time?
Yeah. So for me, this is gonna come down to if Amanda hits her third squat, and it's really dependent on like what she decides to load there. Because I was looking at like her previous performances, and she's missed her third squat a couple times. So Nationals 2021, Worlds 2021, and then she hit all her third squats up until Sheffield 24, Sheffield 25, Worlds last year as well. And all of them were around like 250 plus or minus 2.5 kg. If she could hit around there, because she did do Sheffield earlier this year, she did do 250.5. If she hits around there, for me, it's basically a wrap. Because then at that point, she can pace herself for the bench, pace herself for the deadlift. And, I don't think Karlina's squat is going to go up by that much because Karlina has had like depth problems even at 76. So being heavier now, it might be, like even worse. So we'll see what she could hit. But that's what's going to be dependent on for me. But I would put my money on Amanda. Like she's done 640, 645 in that range so many times. And obviously, like I have been known to give her shit for that because like I feel like she should be getting stronger. But That being said, we could count on her to hit that again, I think. So yeah, I think it's Amanda's to lose for sure. Karlina has been somewhat secretive with her training though, so it would be cool for to see her like pop up and like really push Amanda. But I just think Amanda should take it as long as she's smart with it.
In the 640s again?
Yes, just because she can't afford to be risky. So coming
Yeah.
into this one, obviously, like losing would be just like catastrophic. So if she comes in and like she swings for like 253, for example, like in Sheffield 24, she loaded 253 and then she missed it, or 250 plus and misses it, that opens the door for Karlina, in my opinion. So
100% she misses her third squat. It's game on, and oh, buddy, do we have something? But this is where she could go over 640s. What if she goes 3 for 3 in squats? You know Amanda's got the bigger deadlift. Amanda's got a monster deadlift. If Amanda locks us up by her second deadlift, Karlina's gonna pull her third before Amanda pulls her third. Does Amanda then say, if she wins based off of that, Karlina loads up on her third, misses, and Amanda, you won. You're pulling last. Amanda, you have this. Does Amanda now say, thank you very much, I'll just leave it there? Or does Amanda come out and try to make a statement and bump the 650, 660?
to me, that's a question that I can't answer. Like, I think Amanda herself would need to answer that because obviously we have another Sheffield this year, and Sheffield has not been kind to Amanda, even though, like, pound for pound, if we look at like Dots, Good Lift, whatever, she's up there because she's been floating in that 645 to 650 range for so long. She's been consistently around like 100% of the world record and not really over. So I don't know if she would want to put up like 655, 658, whatever, or if she would just be like, okay, I have the strength, I have 4 months to build on it. Let me, see if I could put up 660 at Sheffield later this year. So I don't know where her mindset will be, to be honest.
Johnny, what are you thinking?
So I agree with Ron, um, for sure. And I'm less educated on this, especially with Karlina gatekeeping training right now. One thing that I do want to say, right, Ron, you said she has a hard time staying in the weight class below, right? Do you know if she was nutrition, like if she was keeping herself down there consistently or if she was water cutting? Like took a big cut or if she was staying down,
I think it was a decent cut. I don't think it was anything too crazy though, but
but she wasn't staying down.
yes.
Okay. So um, we can make a reasonable assumption that probably on the platform at that lower weight class, even given the 2 hour weigh-ins, she was heavier, right? Like significantly heavier than that. Because I was going to say, you're talking about the squat depth and probably not hitting it. If she was staying lighter than she needs to be, right? Oftentimes that can make it harder to hit depth. You don't find your squat leverages if she's light like that, right? It's much harder to be confident moving into the hole. But if she is pretty much at the weight that she was at, and this is essentially eliminating a cut plus a couple keys, then I would have to give it to Amanda. And I would also have to say that she's probably not going more than 650-ish, maybe 652 and a half. But this is not the meat to take shots at. And this is something where when we're talking about Sheffield, I would imagine for Amanda, she's probably eating the Sheffield situation and she needs to win this. Like this is Amanda's Sheffield. Finally, somebody comes up in her class. You know what I mean? Like she's got to defend this turf for the first time after 5 years of 7 years of everybody talking all this trash. She has nobody. She doesn't progress. She doesn't blah, blah, blah. Finally, she has somebody. If she loses because she's trying to be conservative, which I'm not saying she's going to take shots, but she is not going to try and 645 for Sheffield, like 650, 652 max. I think it would be like overtly irresponsible to do anything else. And then she probably wouldn't like ball out at Sheffield anyways, to be honest. It's awesome to watch her compete as much as we say, I wish we could, watch like some serious progression here. But we know what she's coming in with, and it's one of these arbitrary things where somebody's gatekeeping their training and is super talented, coming up in weight. And any prediction right now is honestly a little silly. We don't have even kind of the data we need.
Yeah, we're definitely just doing our best guesses. You don't have
Which is
the
exciting.
data. Yeah, we're
Awesome.
excited. Yeah. We got to talk about it. People want to hear about it, but yeah,
For
it's
the
all
first
guesswork.
time in this class, we have something exciting. Like this is in a while, right? Like this is cool.
On that, we got to agree. All right, how about this? Unexpected excitement here. Karlina is injured coming into IPF Worlds. Previously, foregone conclusion, we would assume that she's going to win this. Where do we think she'll be? And Zuzana from Poland, 19 years old, and be careful when you got these 76s teenage sensations out of Poland. She's previously come within one deadlift of 600 kilos. And we're assuming at 19, 600 kilos might be there this time. Maybe she gets that final pull. As a matter of fact, maybe she's a little more.
Yep.
How hurt is Karlina? 100% Karlina 600 kilos is not making her lose sleep. How hurt is she? Do we actually have a battle on our hands right now?
No,
Really?
I can't. I'm not going to say things that I'm privy to that I'm not, you know what I mean? She's doing her thing and it's a badass storyline, but no. She is A-okay. She's going to blow this out of the water. Trust me, this is she is a special athlete, barring her actually executing, right? Which if we just look at history here, as soon as she did step in to real PA and IPF and all that, she has done nothing but significantly overperform at these meets.
Right.
All of the numbers she needs to hit are done in a ridiculous fashion, so fast, so snappy, not questionable. This is going to be no different unless she, you know, if she botches, cool. But if she executes, this injury is not going to be the thing that stops anything. I can guarantee that.
Did you guys see Sonita hit 753 for doubles?
That was
Doubles.
Yeah. 753 total. Yeah.
Total for doubles.
that was incredibly surprising.
Dog, what are we doing? This is for doubles? That's
Because I was so convinced. I was like, oh, like Brittany, you know, like she's sharing all her training, momentum is crazy, everything like that. I was like, Sonita just got married, like, you know, it's probably not her year.
Power of love, buddy. I told Matt Gary, it's called the power of love, baby. Okay? So what are we talking here? Holy freaking smokes. I wouldn't be surprised if both these women go over the all-time record and become the apex predators of powerlifting, having both untested and tested. But crazy. 753. I can't even wrap my head around it. They do it again. These 84 pluses, man. Just when you're like, it's the same people over and over and over. Could this get stale? It ain't getting stale. It ain't getting. Throw that shit in the microwave one more time, Playboy. It ain't getting stale.
Those two, that's not stale. I don't care. I watch ahead all the time. It's awesome. We're asking who's going to win here.
Let me hear what you guys think how it's going to play out. Yeah, I know you don't like predictions. It's okay, but fuck it, shoot from the hip. Let's get crazy.
Especially talking out of my ass. I'm sick. I'm not watching this set like straight off, you guys. Like this is not my best showing here. But regardless, right? When I look at specifically that 705 double from Sonita, right? While the seven's been really consistent for her in meet, that 320 squat, right? You watch this almost every time in training up until this double, right? Where she comes down, it's not really a question of her getting up, but very consistently, really fast rate of knee extension out of the hole, right? Back onto the hips, and then she backs this thing up, and it's a little bit of a grind, but it happens every time. This was ridiculous. This was like textbook, staying in the quads, both reps. I expected after the first went that well, I was like, damn, that's progression. Let's see your usual first rep on this second. Nope. Perfect repeat of that. I was like, you probably had that for a triple. That's absolutely ridiculous, right? So it's really up to what is she willing to call for that squat, right? Like, what is she actually like? All right, now you just had I guarantee no matter how well she thought that 705 double was going to go, it went better than she thought it was going to go.
Yeah, she said it went worse actually.
Really?
Yeah.
And do you
Is he
think that's the
capturing?
truth or no? Like, is that like I'm like genuinely because
She's
like
expecting to take it for six.
yeah,
I
because how could you
don't. No,
possibly? Yeah, I was like that was like I feel like as well as you could hope
yeah.
for a double PR to go, especially when it's the all-time world record single for any woman, and what I mean, it's absurd. Or well, I guess she hit 325, but what is she taking? Is it 330? Is it 3? Like, how high is she willing to go?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's just going to push Britt on the pole, right? And it's like, what's Britt going to hold? Like I said in the last pod, um, horsepower wise, Britt has everything she needs and more. That was one of the most ridiculous, probably my favorite deadlift of all time on the women's side, period. I love the fashion it was done in, this vertical shin, just oh my God, it was raw power. If she can hold, right, we know Britt has the strength to get this done. It's if she can hold. How high is Sonita gonna call? And how hard is that gonna push Britt? If Britt can hold, I think she can probably load what she needs. If she doesn't hold, Sonita wins. I really think that's what this comes down to is how big Sonita's gonna go and what can Britt hold on to. Um, because this is going to be cool. This will be my favorite on the women's side. This will be my favorite thing to watch by far.
Yeah, this are the 47s. Ron, what are you thinking, kind sir?
Um, Between this and the 47th.
Nah, just this one right now. Leave the 47s.
Oh, um, I, so I'm gonna give it to Sonita. Um, if you asked me this literally 2 days ago, I would have said Brittany, but that post swayed me. I think the thing is bench for both of them. They really don't have like much issues, either of them on bench. So I think that's gonna play out as is. They're like within 2.5 keys of each other. Um, Squat, I hope that Sunita is like smart about it, like obviously pushes it, but not to the point where it's like, coming out for 335 and like risking something, like 330 I think would do it, and it would put the deadlift possibly out of reach for Brittany's grip, not for her back, but her grip. Um and yeah, so I'll give it to Sunita.
Here's another one for you. Will Ball changed his Instagram handle to 93 kilo world champion.
Crazy.
Reposted that. People are. I was shocked. I mean, it's long gone now. The amount of shares, the amount of comments and DMs, the reaction from it. And then, of course, you have the humble European in Emil Krastev, who's just quietly, literally a silent worker, signed a silent worker, but the epitome of that. Will Ball posting on his Instagram. Too bold? Too much?
I I just want to say I think this is the greatest aura gamble of all time in powerlifting. So right now, obviously, like Will Ball coming up in the 93s, like he's basically that guy, right? Like a lot of hype on him, everything like that. He essentially took all of that aura and pushed it to the middle of the table and was like double or nothing
Yeah.
by doing this. Because if he loses,
Oh, buddy.
I don't know how he is able
Oh,
to live this
buddy.
down.
Here,
Be crazy.
Well, I'm letting you go. Yeah. What do you think, Ron?
Yeah. I would say like up like 2 months ago, like I was like, all on the Will Ball hype train. Like I wanted Will to win a lot. But I don't know, it's something about like, Emil just like being humble, head down, just getting the work in type of thing that like also has like a lot to it where it's like, damn, like I just want this guy to like, do well. Um But it's tough. It's tough. Like seeing Will's training, the explosiveness and like his squats, the deadlift with I think it was a 360 triple.
That's what I'm going to talk about. Bro, all right. So like we talked about on the last, right? I'm a big speak with your actions guy. Emil is the epitome of what I think a champion should be, right? This dude is the absolute man. Um, Will's been talking crazy, right? And he has, right? Of course,
yeah.
but he has been doing stuff to back it up, right? And he has the Fed propping him up. He has all of these little kids on Instagram, right? You know, he has everything in his favor in terms of just this massive hype train. Um, Unfortunately for Emil, in my opinion, there's almost no way, bro. We're watching a kid. He is that talent. Okay, I hate to say it, right? This kid is that talent. I don't hate to say it. I love to say it. Um, if you're watching Will's training, right, and you're just looking at things objectively, all of the squats that he was doing leading into it might have been his 930. I think it was his last meet at what to qualify. Everything was consistently between 300, 305, right? Like that was pretty much his pocket. I think I need to go check this stuff, but it was right around there. And it was moving super explosively. Honestly, sometimes two on the forefoot, sometimes two on the heels. He's not the most technically proficient guy, but he's just strong. You know what I mean? It just corrects. Now, things are moving the exact same way, if not better, and more consistently in terms of tech at 310 to like 315-ish, right? The squat's there. If you want to call it 340, if you want to call it 337 and a half, 345, it's something there. He has the room to push. On the bench, less of a push, but that 220 is there, that 222 and a half, maybe 225. If he takes it down, 217 and a half. Cool. And the pulls. That's what screws this, right? Like I said, I was with Perk and whatever, a bunch of the boys in Austin. And as soon as he posted this 375, we were all together and everybody was like, yo, damn, like, look at this. Like, take that out of the bio. Like, crazy stuff. And in my head, I didn't say anything, but I was like, what are you guys speaking, bro? Like, do you see this, man? I know what it feels like. Ron knows what it feels like. I can look at that 793 triple that he hit. And I know what that is. That is weightless in the hands. That is nothing. That is literally load whatever I need and I will pull it within reason. Up to 400-ish, something like that is what will happen. It's not even a thing. And since that, right? You've seen him obviously not up there at 360 yet, but the 320 he's hitting more weightless. The 750 he's hitting, the 340, just that extra bit of pop that I didn't think was possible given the lead up to that 360 triple. His 340, I was like, damn, that's the pop. That's it. That's weightless. This looks more weightless. Ron, it reminds me of the Bob 360.
Yeah.
All like that, where we're like, yo, damn, bro. Like, what did you do? Because this is ridiculous. He has too much room on everything besides bench, obviously, whatever, 5 keys or so, but he has too much room to push. Where I want Emil, it would be awesome to watch Emil hold it down, right? And weirdly, as much as he's the guy to beat, he's also the underdog right now, like in terms of nominated total and experience. What I will say is Will has not traveled to Lithuania and taken this drive and done all of this, right? Like that is a totally real factor, and we don't know how he responds. And some people get wrecked by that. I personally would not do well with that, right? That would take away significant amounts for me. But given how much room he has, even if it gets taken down a certain amount, if it doesn't destroy him, I have to give this to Will, personally.
Now, having said that, and thank you for the prediction. These are tough. And Evan Hawke, his coach, I went in DMs when I'm doing scouting for the preview shows. They're very confident. They think they got a really big total. And to your point about the buffer, potentially, they think they got buffer to play with, even if disaster strikes or whatever.
Agreed.
Now, having said all of this, though, and Emil is a dog, and he did 320 before, and we think he's stronger now. So he might be in a 920 before. We think he's stronger now, and he might be in the 930s. And let's say Will comes down, whatever the shit. Was that move too far in your estimation to change your Instagram bio? Was it too much of a risk? Is it too much of a, my God, did you lose it's one thing to lose a close battle to a guy like Emil. If he loses, in your estimation, too big of a gamble? Or are you thinking, no, push your chips to the middle because what if you win?
I don't think so. I think he's too young.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Like,
it doesn't matter. He's a young bull. He's like, yo, give me it. And guess what? The young cocky kid gets well, I don't want to say cocky, but this is an objectively
Nah,
cocky,
this is cocky.
right?
This is
Like,
cocky.
yeah, what are we talking about, right? So, yeah. I just don't mean to sound like I'm coming down on Will because I love the dude and love watching his training. But um, if he loses and we're saying, how is he ever going to recover? Easily. That's how he's going to recover. I was young, I was inexperienced. I went to my first worlds, I traveled, I went up against a seasoned guy. So many silly little things that he can pull out of nowhere that makes this really justifiable. This is not half as big of a gamble as I think people are making it out to be. And I think it's a pretty cool shot to take because, in my opinion, like I said, he's likely to hit this shot at his first Worlds against a dude that is this good this seasoned. And if it doesn't take away like all of this travel stuff, if he responds well, this is gonna look silly, I think. Like if he decides to really, really push.
I think, like for instance, Ilya Topuria did the exact same thing before his first title fight. Input UFC world champion, won the title, and then in defending of the title, the night before the fight, took all of his friends and family out and celebrated, and they had dinner. And he celebrated the win. Celebrated the win. And he gave a speech thanking everybody, and it was hilarious. And people videoed it and put it online. I celebrated with my closest friends my win tomorrow. So in terms of like the oral farming, like Rondel was saying, you pull this off, legendary. Picking your shot. The first one to do this long before social media was Babe Ruth. Legendary. He became a legend. Here's another stat by Babe Ruth. Not only did Babe Ruth lead the league in home runs, he also led the league in strikeouts. But nobody fucking brings that any up 100 years later, huh, Johnny, to your point? Nobody gives a shit. They remember when you pick your shot and you hit that goddamn home run.
100%.
If I could tell anybody, lean into it, nobody, what if you miss, what if I swing and miss and fall on my face? As long as you're hitting, and everyone's going to remember your hits, and they remember these moments. Do you remember when Will Ball did this and then came out and beat a guy like a mill for the world title? It's worth the gamble. And if it doesn't go your way, you double down again. The rematch. Let's see it. Let me get it. A couple things didn't go my way. You keep coming back. It's fine. Nobody gives a shit. Just remember, people remember how you made them feel in the moment. They won't even remember all the numbers when time passes. And people got a feeling right now. Some of them are digging this. Some of them, you're pushing them to a mill. Good. Make them pick a side. That's exactly what Enhanced Games missed, to throw it back. Make them pick a side. You got the humble European, the cocky American. Good. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Excellent. Make them feel something. Tune in to watch me get my ass kicked, or tune in to watch me, the new era begin. And there's nothing you could do to stop it. How you like that? How does that make you feel? Do it. But it's got people talking. I love it. I personally love it. If everyone did it, too much. Way too much.
Well,
way too much. But
the whole point is this isn't ignorant. This is
that's right.
Completely reasonable shot to take. It's an aggressive move, but he has all the numbers. He does have the highest nominated. This dude lifts the most weight at that body weight. This isn't crazy to say.
Yeah.
Let's pull back and stop being nerds here. These two guys weigh the same thing. This guy lifts more weights. It's not that crazy for him to call this shot. Ron, are you with Will
What are you
Ball?
saying?
I'd love for you to go the other way.
Yeah, go the other way.
So that's the thing. Like, I think he pushed me towards Emil. It's like
Hey.
I was just like, damn, like I want to see, because like, okay, so I know what it's like to have juniors in your weight class who like just want to beat you. You know what I mean? Like, not to the point where like, like this, like that's crazy.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at the same time, like I could imagine myself in that situation, like coming into Wills and um like Joseph or like Nonso or somebody is just like, yeah, 2026. I'm like, damn, like I need to humble this guy, So I think I need to go with Emil, although like the numbers
love
are
it.
like
That's good.
pointed in that direction. But yeah, I want Emil to win.
Doug, you win worlds and you come to defend your title, and Nonzo's back and he does this to you. Oh, buddy, is this going to be a good episode when we talk about it leading into worlds? I want to get your opinion. How in your head would it be? Well, how would you honestly feel now that we're having the conversation? How would you feel if going into world championship, your opponent did that?
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Before you have to contextualize this. Is Nando out totaling Ron at the time or no?
But yeah, let's okay. Yeah,
They're calling these shots at Ron 100 keys below his best total.
yeah,
It's a
no,
crazy
it's
different
ridiculous.
thing,
No,
bro.
yeah, you're right. We got to set the table here because if it's ridiculous, it doesn't do anything to you. You're like, all right, we'll see how this story. Yeah. No, it's got to be either he's out totaling you or you guys are like dead even. Like Emil and Will Ball are 10 kilos apart, so like they're pretty close. Let's say at the very fucking least, you guys are like neck and neck, but you're defending. You're Emil. You're defending your world title. But some guy who was straight up neck and neck with you just changed his fucking bio and has everybody tripping. And they're like, God damn, you're talking about Rondel. How would you honestly feel about this?
I could think from like Emil's perspective, like it might like someone's confidence like that could make you think like, damn, like what does he actually have? Type of thing. Like what is he actually projecting here? Like, is it that like because Emil could be thinking like, okay, I could push him to pull, 385, 390, and he's not gonna get it. But it's like if he's so confident in doing that, it's like, does he have 400? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is he actually like gonna squat 345? Like, do I not even have a chance? So I could see it, and it's also tough because like coming up against a junior, as an open lifter, you literally have everything to lose and nothing to gain. Like, because if Emil wins, like, okay, I mean, if Emil wins, that would be huge because, like, Will does have, the highest ever 93 kg total, and they would also break the world record total. So that would be huge. But at the same time, you have a lot to lose because it's like, if Will wins, the storyline from there is essentially like, okay, like, this is the Will Ball era beginning. Emil is done. Like, you could fight for podium, but going forward, we're looking at Will Ball here. So, so it's tough. It's tough.
It would. There were some mind games we played. You're right. It's not just good promotion, which I think is excellent promotion, but there is some mind games we played. You're 100% right that you touched up on. You can't help but put your head on your pillow at night and think, fuck me, what is going on in his training that he posted that?
Yeah.
Like you can't tell me that's not in your head a little bit. Like, am I going to get styled on? Why is he that cocky?
Dude, they've doubted him so many times. When I was down at Ghost at the end of last year, before this, right, the battle of the 93s, it was going to be massive, right, for this nomination. And I was with a few kids who know Evan, know Will. I won't say their names because they weren't saying the nicest things in the world. I mean, not about them as people, but they were saying, oh, they're saying all this stuff. They're going to win. And they were looking at me for validation. They were like, yo, this cocky kid. Like, I was like, no, wrong guy, bro. Like, this guy is absolutely going to go do that. And he did. And I'll say the exact same thing here. When you heard me last time, I don't like the cocky thing for the most part, but there's a certain objectivity where it's just like, yeah, this dude's going to do it whether you like it or not. This is lifting weights. And, if he can stand up, he's going to stand up. And I think this kid stands up. So, Ron, I'm glad you took a meal because I'd love to see that happen just as much in a very different way,
Yeah.
Just wait.
If it's good, we'll see a rematch at Sheffield, and we'll see. But it's got to be good. It's got to be close. It's got to be. You got to think it's going to be reasonably close because even if Will Ball, if he locks it up on his second and Mill goes to pull on his third, doesn't hit it, Will Ball should be like, okay, thank you very much. We're both going to Sheffield, I guess, because I'm going to pocket my last one and we redo it and we see what the hell. I don't know. We'll see. And then, of course, Russell or he waiting in the wings. But I mean, how far in the wings, though? He didn't sign up for NAPS. So there will not be any attempt at the world record or an attempt at Sheffield through a world record NAPS like he has previously done. So I don't know. Now Will Ball will have two kicks at the can, conceivably at the world record and extending a world title, a world record, Sheffield, by the time we have Russell or he back. What do you guys think? Has the air been, now that Russell is not going to be at NAPS and there's no pathway to Worlds or Sheffield now, has that deflated a lot of the air on this rivalry? And by the time we roll around to next U.S. Nationals, what do you think?
the rivalry between
Russ and Will, because Will, remember when
what rivalry on anything but clout? What are we talking about? Like I'm sorry, like we're talking numbers here. This guy out totals him. Like that's it with room, and he's growing. We're young in his career, young. This guy is on nothing but a rocket ship towards the sky. And like I said in the last pod, I hate to keep referencing it, but this delusion period. It's wild. Whatever that height may be, where he hits his injury or his plateau, whatever it is, he's not there yet. It's like Perk when you were asking me about Elliott and Perk, and it's like Perks hasn't set that bar. Will Ball has not set that bar. This guy is going like this. And I'm not saying Ross isn't, I mean, incredible athlete, going to put up something awesome. Um, but what rivalry outside of a fun storyline to build because of social media hype? If we're talking numbers and sport and the internet doesn't exist, this storyline would not exist. You know what I'm saying?
what do you think, Rondell?
Um, so the 918.5 from Russ at NEPF last year was it was good. Like obviously at that time that was the world record, and that was his essentially his first meet as like a full-fledged 93, everything like that. But since then we haven't really seen anything from him. I think the only meet he's done since then is Sheffield, right?
That's why
Um,
I was hoping for an APF's
yeah.
potential world record go at it, because there's a pathway where at Worlds, if Will wins on the second, he doesn't come out for his third, and the world record doesn't go crazy. So
Yeah.
if it stays around 930s, for Russ to do 918 a year ago, could he do 930s a year later? Sure. And then if Russ takes the world record from Will Ball, then guys like Johnny be like, fuck, I guess they did go back and forth with the world record. He's in the conversation anyways. If Russ would have a pathway to force himself into the conversation and be like, you can't dismiss me right now. Unfortunately, to your guys, both your points, haven't seen him since 918. Will Ball, we're going to see twice. And then by the time we do see Russ, has Will Ball already taken this fucking thing to 950 or whatever? I don't know.
Here's the issue, like besides the total, right? Like if Will Ball takes it to 950, 955, 960, whatever, Russ, I think, needs to unlock his like deadlift and really level that up. And also to some extent the same with his bench. Um, Squat obviously out of this world, in the gym he's at it was it 820, yeah, 821, right? Unreal squat, 93 kilos. That's insane. Like obviously best in the world, right? He hasn't put that exact number on the platform, but still crazy squat, right?
It's there. Yeah.
If he peaks it well, I think he could do 800 plus in a meet. The issue is though, like even if he does do that, when you are like somewhat behind on bench and then on deadlift, you're significantly behind to the point where, you pull in high sevens and then, at that point, Will Ball might be pulling high eights. It's like you essentially have a situation where you're not deciding the meet. You're gonna get like a nice running start and then you're just gonna wait to see what happens and just do your best. So it's like you need to at least be in the conversation on the deadlift where like, at least, low eights, mid eights, something around there to really be in a position where like you could really impact the second half of the meet. And that is why I think, like I think powerlifting is getting to a point where it's like you really need to have at least a very strong finish, like bench, deadlift, but ideally like just be a good overall lifter, to be honest. So, and I think that's Russ's downfall. And unless I could see him pulling, 825, 830 in the gym, then I don't know I don't think there's a rivalry to be had, personally.
Guess only time will tell. The problem is we don't even know when the next time we're going to see Russ is.
Yeah.
Will
And
be. I mean, he's, I just everything you just said, Ron, was so true and a nice and descriptive way of saying there's not a rivalry. Like it's just
No,
there.
but
well,
there could be though. There could be like if The squat is
Oh,
insane. If he pushes the deadlift, pushes the
but
bench somehow.
Will's growing. He's not you know what I mean? Like this kid is not there, 950,
Yeah.
960, whatever it is. He could. Maybe I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Maybe he stalls right here, 930. But given what we have right now, does this kid look like he's chalked? Like, does this kid look like, yeah, this guy's
Yeah.
topping out genetic potential wise? He's young. Um, I'd love to see it happen, but like, dang, do I feel like it's an irresponsible thing to say. Like, you want to talk a meal? Let's talk. You know what I mean? Like this is real, but I just don't think with the Russ situation. But yeah, regardless.
I think if there's I think Will Ball's over like one guy's 20, one guy's 30. I think Will Ball's going to take this into another whole nother stratosphere at some point for sure. I just think there is a window where we could have some fun for a rivalry. That's why I was disappointed I didn't see Russ sign up for NAPFs because the time is now. If you're going to have this rivalry with Will Ball, it's now, not when obviously when
Probably
he's
sign up for Avances. If I was going to make a prediction, I'm going to make a prediction here. He'll probably sign up for Avances in his own town, 15 minutes from where he lives. He will probably go put up a nasty squat that will not be affected by travel or anything. He won't be cutting. He'll wake
not a
up and
bad idea.
drive 15 minutes away. That will drum up significantly more hype around a potential rivalry. He gets to compete in his hometown. Most people don't think about these things. Never had more of an uneducated audience in the sport because of the growth in the sport overall. It's just inherent. People are just going to see, oh my God, Russ just did this. This is sick, even though it's not exactly apples to apples. And then you get an awesome storyline to market and you watch this happen, and then head and he'll lose. And that's what'll happen. But that
Do
would
you,
be my bet.
is Avances before Sheffield?
I believe it's
Yeah, it
November.
is. Yeah.
It is okay. So then he could still do this. So that means he could take the unofficial world record. Do you think then, follow up question, do you think he out totals what wins IPF Worlds in advances? Hey, if it's Houston, everything lines up. You know what? I ain't half mad at this plan if this is what Russ is going to do. He takes the unofficial world record at advances. And to your point, everyone's going to go nuts about it. And he's still back into the conversation. Do you think he could do it? Do you think he out totals whatever they do at Worlds? Because they might hold back at Worlds. Or like you got to think that.
Yeah.
What do you think wins at Worlds? How do you think it plays out? This is a very detailed question. I know. I'm asking
I
it.
think
This is tough.
I think it depends on how Emil shows up because I do think that like I know I said I want Emil to win, but I do think that Will with his deadlift and stuff like that um will be the one to pull last. So it really depends on how like Emil shows up. If Emil shows up 9:35, then we could see Will pushing the world record into the 9:30s. Um I don't know. I don't know if Russ. I don't know because I follow him on like I watch his YouTube videos and stuff like that, and his squat has been like regaining momentum. He just did 750 for a triple, but his bench and deadlift have not. Like I think the most he's pulled is like 705 for like a double or something like that. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he'd be able to get to that 935 range, but it would be nice to see though. So.
If he doesn't,
Bench that
sorry,
needs
go ahead.
so as much as I want the deadlift to come up, the going up in weight when he was having a hard time in the class below locking out deads because he has tree trunk legs. That is a difficult thing to do, especially while he's obviously going to be doing everything he can to maximize his weapon in the squat, right? Where he's going to load it up and it's going to take away from the pull. It's really the fact that the bench lags as hard as it does that makes it so hard to give him anything. You know what I mean? I'd like to see the bench regaining some consistency and hitting some PRs, the things that you would expect out of going up, which I guess you don't because of how heavy he was and cutting and all of that. But um, yeah, damn, it's so many variables, dude. I understand why you asked the question because it's interesting, and I know the hypothetical I just proposed, is a very fun situation. I do think it's likely. But to make any sort of like actual call that I would put my word behind and stand behind on him out totaling what potentially is going to happen at Worlds,
Yeah, yeah.
next level conjecture, you know?
Put it this way though, if Will Ball wins Worlds with the total, then Russ is up, and he is unable to topple that. He's unable to match what Will Ball does at Worlds in his home of Houston. And Will Ball traveled IPS standards, whatever. That'll really take the steam out of the rivalry, and people will be like, okay, I think we're moving on.
Right.
Unfortunately, I hope it doesn't happen for the sake of sports rivalries and conjecture and talk, and it gives us more meat on the bone. If Will Ball turns into a runaway favorite and we don't have, and again, like a Mill could still freaking win this, obviously. I'm just saying if the scenario is Will Ball is that guy and just runs away with it, it's fun to watch, but we do start ending up with another Shell, Perk, Will Ball. It becomes like, okay, I don't want too many of these. I don't want. I do want to get back to some battles here where I'm interested, but a lot's got to happen for all that. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see. All right, gentlemen. I think that we're at 9 o'clock. We just did 2 hours here. I did a couple more questions, but I think we're good right there. To be honest with you, we could leave it.
Wait. We're doing a King of the Lifts podcast before you have Ron after 8 years about a step. You're not going to ask this man about how he's doing. You're right. I misstepped. Ron, how you doing? How is prep? What can we expect from you?
We could expect me to win. I think we can expect that.
Did you change your bio?
I did. You can check it now. Yeah, no, I didn't. But prep was cool. It wasn't my best prep. I did have like a small elbow injury. And now like my right back / glute is like a little bit funny, but it's not to the point where it's like gonna affect anything too much. So yeah, we can expect me to win. Set myself up for Sheffield and should be good.
And how excited are you leading into a fucking World Championships, man? And does it feel? I know I asked you before. Now we're a lot closer. Because before you were like, I can't think about it, man. It still feels like fairy tales right now. It's not real until we're a lot closer. Well, we are a lot closer. And you were the treasurer of the Trinidad Federation right now. You were making things happen now. You are part of the federation. Your ticket is purchased. Your singlet is ready, sir. This is far more real than it's ever been. Before I want to talk to you, this is last time officially on King List. We're going to talk ahead of time. How does it feel right now? Are you feeling like? How does it feel right now?
It feels cool. Like it feels like I've never been to like Europe before or anything like that. So I don't know if it feels exactly like any other meet that I've done, but it is exciting. Like I just wanna like officially be the best and like officially just have that like title of world champion. And yeah, just excited for it. Excited to finally get it done. So yeah.
Now let's see what's next after that. Dog, we waited a long time for this one. 2018 Playboy. I remember.
We have Ashton coming to squat probably 410. If not, this would be very unexciting outside of a battle for second place. But that's going to be sick to watch on the squat. And then obviously not myself for obvious reasons, but for everybody, this will be a very special thing to watch. So
I mean, yeah. It'll be fun. Etienne's a monster, world champ last year. Ashton, world champ, going to squat something stupid. There's a lot to watch in the 120s. Matt Gary did a phenomenal job in the preview show breaking down the 120s. Obviously, you're a heavy favorite going in, but the amount of battles we're going to have for medals, podiums, and all throughout, very deep. This 120 class is very talented. You're at the tippy top of it, and it's got to play out. If we only went off nominations, the Yankees would win every single freaking year, and we just give them the World Series. We got to let the game unfold. So, good luck to you, my man. I mean, you know how I feel about you, your whole story. I'm glad you're in this position where you are, and so it's good. show up, embrace the moment, take it all in, for God's sakes. I was talking to my girl last time we were in Lithuania. Brendan Petrie was there.
Mm-hmm.
I shit you not. Brendan Petrie was out every night just hanging out. Who's doing what? Who's going to what restaurant? Who's kicking it outside, chilling, talking. After he's done competing, every freaking night. I was walking down the street with like who knows who, and be like, is that Petrie coming towards us? Just Petrie's out there just soaking it in. Just soaking it in. And, talking about the 93s and how crazy Will Ball, we didn't even know who Will Ball was, 2024. 2 years later, you can take nothing for granted. If I can give you any advice, is don't take nothing for granted. Soak it all in and don't stay in your freaking hotel room. Hang around people, talk to people, embrace the moment, and take it all in and watch it live like it's your last. And that's it, Playboy. I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon.
You soon.
All right, fellas. Much appreciated, but let's do this on the other side of worlds, and we'll do the same thing. We'll ask key questions.
So much more excited for that. My God.
Recap the highlights and ask key questions moving forward. What does this mean for Sheffield? What does this mean for blah, blah, blah? We'll have some fun. So thank you very much, guys. You guys do a phenomenal job coming on this. And for everybody listening, as per usual, please do subscribe. Give us high ratings. And until next time, 6-pack Lapadat. 6 up. And we are out.